Hey guys, welcome to Tim's Tiny Arcade. In today's video, we are going to look at Atari 2600 games. I absolutely love collecting Atari 2600 games. It's kind of my passion. But I just want to kind of show like some of the different variants, the different molds they had, label variations. You know, I just love collecting for it, and I just kind of wanted to spotlight you know, and show you guys some of this if you've not seen it before. Some of you have, I'm sure, but let's just jump into it.
Welcome to Tim'sTinyArcade.com podcast, YouTube. What the hell is it, Tim? What is it? YouTube, Tim's Tiny Arcade, boom shakalaka!
Only Atari makes the world's most popular home video games. The only Space Invaders. The only Asteroids. The only Pac-Man. The only Missile Command. And soon, the only Defender. And the only way you can play any of them is on a home video system made by Atari.
Alright guys, so I'm going to start off by showing just some of the different variants of like a lot of the games from back in the day. A Magic was one of them that I absolutely loved to collect. As you can see, this had like a lip there, and they had the word Magic under there. Demon Attack, one of the best games on Atari 2600. But this one didn't have any picture, you know, of the game or anything, no art. But here's another one from a Magic. Dragon's Fire, as you can see, they had a picture on it, but the silver label, man, those things popped. The boxes popped. One of my favorite ones to collect. They made a lot of great games back in the day. As you can see, this one here, Wallball. This one is kind of a, you know, it's got the lines on it. Kind of cheaply made. Not a fun game for me, but as you can see, a big difference just in those two games right there. And we're going to see a lot of differences in games as we go. Another one I like to collect, the Sears Telegames. This one, Steeplechase. You would get these at Sears. No art on this one. Another one, you guys all know Combat. This was Tank Plus, it was called. And you can see, you know, just the plain art, and it was kind of, you know, you'd go into your Sears store and you could buy games that had their Sears Telegames on. You could even get an Atari 2600, you know, by them also. Now, here's some other Sears Telegames. These actually had art. Submarine Commander. You know, this one was a little bit harder to find, as you can see that one. You got Berserk right here. And that's a Sears Telegames. And here was the Atari 2600 version of Berserk. So you could see the different, how they had their Sears Telegames label on there. And, you know, kind of an orangish, reddish label. And then the green one there for the Atari 2600. Some other, this was 20th Century Fox. Their cartridges had like the ridges on them. This is Crash Dive. Had pretty good, you know, color on their labels. 20th Century Fox did. Here's Turmoil. That's another great game. Showing, this one just shows like the gameplay of it there. Here's a Milton Bradley cartridge, as you can see here. But as you can see, everything is pretty much different on the Atari 2600. It was the wild, wild west back then. You know, we'll show you more as I go. Now, here's a Bally Midway. This is Tapper. That's a pretty fun game on the Atari 2600. I like the way they did their cartridges. They had a couple ridges here. And then here's another one. It's the exact same mold here, and that is Tax Avoiders. Quick story on that. I ended up finding this in a lot for $2, and that's the only time I've ever seen that. I haven't even seen this game at a convention. So, but yeah, you got the Sega label on there for this one, and I cannot remember. who made this one for sure, but it wasn't Sega. But Tax Avoiders, yeah, same exact mold for that game there. Let's go ahead and we'll grab one of these here. This is the exact same game, Cosmic Creeps. As you can see, the first one, we'll look at that one. It has kind of like a something to grab and pull the cartridge out. A lot longer. Same game, Cosmic Creeps here. But as you can see, they look totally different molds. So, I mean, if you look at like today's games, everything's pretty well, you know, the same. You know, everything looks the same. We'll look at that later. Here is M Network. Their cartridges. I hated these cartridges because when I would stack loose cartridges, you get so high they didn't stack as well. This was a black and white label for Lock and Chase. Kind of looked like the Intellivision cartridge with this just little add-on. And here's a bump and jump. Now this one actually had the, I don't know if you can see that there, but the M Network emblem on there. Not one of my favorite cartridges, but they did make some good games back in the day, which I really enjoyed. All right, let's look at this one. This one's a beast of a cartridge. This is Tomark, the Barbarian. And you can see, I mean, it had like ridges that you could grab the cartridge to pull out. And let me show you something else here with some of their cartridges. They ended up also making cartridges that were called double enders. So on this one here, you had Pikes Peak. So if you stuck it in your Atari, you could play Pikes Peak, or you could reverse it and play Ghost Manor. So these were kind of neat. I mean, a neat idea back in the day. Here's another one of theirs, a Chuck Norris and an artillery duel. So, you know, back in the day, you know, getting 2 games for the price of 1 was probably a pretty good deal for a lot of people. Now here's another. This is Firefly. You know, different kind of cartridge, another different mold. You know, there was no, and some of them had like these cartridge covers in the back too, where like a lot of Activision games back in the day did not. Some of the Atari 2600 games made by Atari did, until later versions such as the Red Label games, the Atari 2600. This was another, you know, these were some of the later games that came out for the Atari 2600. They made these Red Label games, as you can see, Desert Falcon. This one here, Crossbow, Red Label. And here's a pinball game, Midnight Magic. A little bit different color of red, but yeah, I like collecting Red Label games. They were some of the later releases for the Atari 2600. And talking about the Atari 2600, let's just kind of look at some of the games they actually made Atari. So this would have been an early version of Space Invaders. You know, one of the first versions that came out. And they used lowercase letters, and the cartridges look like that. Then if you look a little bit later, they added some art, a little bit of color. This one's a blue one, but that's what they kind of look like. And then you had Silver Label. So here's a Space Invaders Silver Label. This one actually has the dust cover on this one here. All these do for the Atari. I actually really like that. I think that ended up helping them out quite a bit from getting the dirt in there, and you know, just made it so you didn't have to clean them maybe as much. Now, Konami made games for the Atari, if you did not know, and you can see how long these games are. Here's Puyon. You know, that's what their cartridges, a few ridges there. Very long cartridges. Another one by them, Strategy X. This is a pretty fun tank game that I enjoy playing. But yeah, I mean, just the variety out there was incredible. All right, let's look at some Tiger Vision. I just picked King Kong up not that long ago. So these kind of had like indentation in here, and on the inside had the word Tiger Vision. Jawbreaker, a red cartridge. I really like the way these kind of cartridges look. I like the artwork on them. They don't feel cheap either. And collecting these games today is not cheap. They've gotten a little more expensive. What else we got here? Well, here's one more Tiger Vision while I got it. Here's Miner 2049er. You know, that's a fun game also, but yeah, same art or same mold as the last two I just showed you there. All right, CBS made games, and their games all look pretty much like this, just kind of a gray mold. Had these ridges here so you could stack the games. They made some pretty good games. I just brought one of these out. They didn't really have any of the art on them, but anyway, that's Wizard of War by CBS. You know, the variety is just incredible for this system. Here's Spectrovision. There's so many different companies. They were a black mold, had that indentation kind of there. Here's a real rare one, guys. Chase the Chuck Wagon. That's probably my most prized game. Not a fun game, but probably most expensive Atari 2600 game. As the label is upside down on this one, but it would say Spectrovision there. Had, you know, a little bit of grip to them. But yeah, that's what their games look like. Had that silver label. Don't feel cheap. They feel pretty well made. They had a few good games that I enjoy playing. Here's some variety. I mean, I've gotten so bad at collecting. I've collected, you know, probably near 400 some games. This is Skydiver, and then I ended up seeing a white label. You know, just you find different colored labels from the games and stuff, and that's just something I enjoy doing, is finding different colors, because it's so hard for me to find games now. Now here's Kaliko. I never owned the ColecoVision, but they did make games for the Atari 2600. Donkey Kong, you know, that's the Donkey Kong, looks like the arcade marquee kind of there. They did a lot of arcade games. Time Pilot, you know, their game had the Coleco, made in the USA, but these were a white cartridge. And I have several different, they made a lot of different arcade games. Donkey Kong Jr., another one that I've played. Epnix, a lot of my labels on these aren't very good. This is kind of like an Activision mold on these. They also had the little things that stick out here so you could stack your cartridges. But these were, at least the ones I have, are all kind of a white label, and they're kind of in bad shape. This was probably the best one, California Games. And then let's look here. What do we got here? Froggo Games, this one here, another kind of an Activision mold to me. Same thing. And they have pretty good labels on theirs. This one's Task Force. I have a few different of their games. Now here's a pretty popular franchise back in the day, Parker Brothers. I love playing the Parker Brothers games. This one here, The Empire Strikes Back. That is an excellent game, but you can see this cartridge looks a lot different than anything we've seen. They had Parker Brothers right there on it, but a different kind of look. This is another one, Tutankhamun. I believe I pronounced that right. I've heard it pronounced different ways. Then Star Wars the Arcade, a little more expensive game, but I love the Parker Brothers games. I thought they were always some of the best ones. Let's look here. U.S. Games. They made some pretty good games too, but their cartridges had like little grips here, opened at the back end, but they had good art on there showing the gameplay, which I like that they show the gameplay on these. Space Jockey, another shooter for the Atari 2600. A few more here, guys, we're going to look at. Getting one of my favorite ones coming up. Here's some U.S. games. Now this is, they had a couple different variants of, as you can see this first one here, Picnic. I mean, it has this big head on there like that, and then, you know, it's just kind of odd shaped. But they made some games like that, but they do have pretty good artwork on there. I didn't think so. I still got the sticker. I paid $7 for that one. Open end. But then they had some more standard cartridges, you know, that look like, you know, they kind of almost look like the Viatech games, as you can see. we just did Space Jockey a second ago, so the molds on those were almost exactly the same. It might have been a cost efficient way, you know, maybe. I'm not sure why they did that, but let me grab these right here. All right, we have some silver labeled, I can't remember the name of them, Data Age. They made Journey Escape, which isn't too bad of a game. I kind of enjoyed that. Some of the games I didn't enjoy as much, but, you know, just silver label. Another, they did have their logo right here on it, you know, have a ridge. Definitely a little bit different. We had that one, Snake. They all look pretty standard with the picture, you know, on theirs, but they kind of stood out a little bit with the silver. All right, guys, let me go ahead. We got two more I want to show you real quick here. Zig Mag. This is the only version I've got of one of their games. And this is Dishhaster. So, you know, label on this one's not as good as some, but just, you know, kind of standard compared to some of them we've seen, just with some, you know, the ridges there. But these do not have the ridges here to stack them, but anyway, that's what one of their cartridges kind of look like. Now my favorite one, guys. This was my favorite one, and that is going to be, I'm going to show several of them, Activision Games. Now see, right off the bat, these games will stack because of these ridges there. Now these have kind of don't look as good as they used to. Some of these don't look too bad, these two games, Hero and Dragster. But some of them get that what they call Acta-Plaque, where the glue was coming through and stuff. This one is, you know, Cosmic Commuter was one of their later games. They kind of changed things as they went on, but a lot of their games, the early ones, is some of my favorites. As you can see, you know, just the color of the cartridge. They always had that picture on there. And here's a robot tank. As you can see, some of the glue is coming through there, but yeah, these I thought always stood out a lot. Pitfall, one of the best games on the system, along with Kaboom, one of my favorites also. You know, showing some of the gameplay. Now, I'm going to show you some of the later ones that they had for the system. Commando. They ended up doing like Rampage, Commando, Double Dragon, and they were, you know, more plain. They didn't have that artwork on them. Probably just to save money, I'm sure. But also, I want to show you blue labels. I've kind of got into collecting. These are also Activision games. I've got several of them. I'm missing a few, but here's a River Raid. You know, I just prefer looking at the River Raid with the picture than just the blue label. But I'm sure it was just, you know, cost efficient maybe, you know, just not having the picture and stuff on them. Just a couple more variants that I've collected. There's a Joust. I believe that piece for the PAL version. Pole position, if you see this one, you can find this label occasionally, how it's worded. You know, but I don't know, guys, just love collecting Atari. All right, guys, so that was a look at some of the variants or, you know, different things on the Atari. That's what it makes so fun collecting for it. There's so much variety that you don't see these days on like your Xbox or PlayStation games. Everything pretty much looks the same except maybe the art, but everything's, you know, just a disc or whatever and the same kind of packaging. But yeah, I just enjoy collecting all the variety, and I think it's a lot of fun. Guys, if you like this video, please give it a like. Please subscribe to my channel. Until next time, guys, keep on gaming.